Hey guys, welcome to the first installment of One Shot Reviews. This is just a way for me to kind of give some recognition and highlight the standalone horror films that I really love and I wouldn't have time for in our normal yearly review series. I'll be posting these sporadically whenever I have the time. First up though is going to be Nightbreed, which is my all-time favorite horror movie. So this one's going to be pretty dense, and I promise the rest of them won't be quite this long. The movie is based on the novel Cabal, released in 1988 by Clive Barker, who also wrote and directed Nightbreed. Clive Barker is a world-renowned horror author of some huge classics, but in the realm of movies, he wrote the scripts for Candyman and Book of Blood, which were adaptations of his own work, including writing and directing the movies Hellraiser and Lord of Illusions. Nightbreed came out in 1990, with Craig Sheffer playing the lead of Boone, later known as Cabal. Now, Sheffer is best known for playing Keith Scott on One Tree Hill, and he also has a tangent connection to Clive Barker because he played the lead in the surprisingly entertaining sequel, Hellraiser Inferno. Also of note, David Cronenberg has a rare acting appearance as Dr. Decker in the film. As we all know, David Cronenberg is the director of such huge classics as Scanners, The Fly, The Dead Zone, among many others. There's also a score provided by Danny Elfman, who was the composer for Batman, Edward Scissorhands, The Nightmare Before Christmas, just to name a few from the era. Now, if you have not seen this movie yet, I would recommend tracking down the theatrical edition if you can find it. Because even though the director's cut is a superior version of the film, by watching the theatrical version first, you will fully appreciate the changes and journey it took to get to the director's cut. And just like the book, we will touch upon the doomed production of Nightbreed at the end of the review. Schaefer's Boone plays our lead, who is plagued by dreams of unimaginable murders, and also of some monsters from a place called Midian. Now, his psychiatrist, Cronenberg's Decker, is helping him work through these dreams. But plot twist, he's actually a serial killer who is killing in one of the creepiest masks you've ever seen slash. He's taking these detailed accounts of Boone's dreams and then making them become realities and killing people in the same way. And this is done for two reasons. One, to fulfill his bloodlust, and also to pin everything on Boone because now he has an alibi, since Boone has ascribed wanting to do these murders. While on the run from the police, he finds Midian along with the Nightbreed that live there. Now, the Breed are a clan of various monsters from all around the world who have sought refuge in a cemetery. Now, once there, Boone gets bit by one of the Nightbreed and then gunned down RoboCop style, only to then come back from the dead as one of the Nightbreed. Later on, Boone accidentally exposes the Nightbreed to Decker, and all hell breaks loose. The police get involved, and with Decker manipulating everyone behind the scenes, it becomes an all-out war. Now, the climax is the highlight of the movie because it is non-stop carnage of human versus monsters with some great visuals. When I first saw this movie, I was completely blown away by the action and violence and just everything happening on screen, especially from the fact that it just never seemed to end. The characters are really what helped tie the story elements together because most of them are very memorable. Now, besides Dr. Decker as our main antagonist, we also have a gung-ho sheriff called Captain Eagerman, who leads the charge and is also a perfect catalyst for Decker's manipulation. Also, the priest, Reverend Ashbury, kind of takes on an antagonist role. Ultimately, he seems very disjointed and a huge misstep for the movie, kind of like he didn't even need to be there. However, I think some of this blame lays on his performance, which comes off kind of stilted and uninspired. Along with that, Boone also has a girlfriend named Lori who's essential to his character arc, but in my opinion, she's just not too memorable. You know who are memorable, though? The Nightbreed. Those nightmares leave their mark. The makeup and creature effects are just top-notch. They're very surreal, very otherworldly, and probably the best representation of Clive Barker's work on the big screen. Each Nightbreed feel like they have a huge, extensive backstory based solely through their design. I do not believe I can properly convey the elegance of their design, even through pictures. They kind of got to be seen in action in order to be fully appreciated. But just to kind of give a rundown of the essential ones, there's Narcisse, who is Boone's best friend, as well as Lylesburg, played by Doug Bradley, who is the leader of the Nightbreed. He essentially is the Moses character to the breed. Now, Doug Bradley, as everyone should know, is the actor who plays Pinhead in most of the movies, and he is a personal friend of Clive Barker. In fact, 2 more Hellraiser alums show up in this movie. Simon Bamford plays Onaka, and Nicholas Vance plays Kinski. And they play Butterball and Chatterer, respectively. Now, to name some of the other Nightbreed that show up, there's Pelican, who is the monster that bites Boone in the beginning to set the whole prophecy into motion. There's also Shuna Sassy, Leroy Gum and Lude, the deity Baphomet, along with Rachel and Bobette. The problem with this version of the movie is that they take this really dense Nightbreed lore and just sweep it under the rug. And it makes a slightly disjointed mess. But it's such a fun mess to watch. Now, Decker takes the forefront in the movie over the Nightbreed, and they really bump up the slashing elements. Despite having a great presence by the killer, along with a really cool mask, the kills are nothing special. They're done very well, but they're nothing to hang an entire movie on. You can really tell the studio was pushing for the slasher elements, though, because in the very end, they revived Decker in order to set up a hopeful sequel. Despite these flaws, this movie has a huge selling point with its elaborate set design, creature effects, and creepy atmosphere. Its unique flair is something that only Clive Barker could create. Now, I mentioned this before, but what made me fall in love with this movie is its final act. It is non-stop carnage between Nightbreed and human that never seems to end, in the best way possible. Now, the journey of Nightbreed doesn't end there. It came out in 1990 to very little fanfare, mainly due to a muddled final product and poor marketing that emphasized the slasher elements over the monsters. Clive Barker wanted to set up humanity as the villain and the Nightbreed as the misunderstood outcast. But the producers wanted a more straightforward villain, hence the expanded role for Decker. Due to Barker's disappointment, he and others who worked on the film maintained that there was a better version of the movie out there. Now, after extensive searches for more footage, along with the support of the movement Occupy Midian, they were able to compile the Cabal Cut, which is a version of the movie that includes all this newly discovered footage. This master version was eventually cut down, re-edited, and re-released as a director's cut in 2014. They removed 20 minutes from the theatrical edition and incorporated 40 minutes of new footage into the movie. Ultimately, this is a very similar movie, at least in the beginning. But as time goes on, you start seeing the alternate scenes and tweaked storyline that really changes into something greater. Besides a heavier emphasis on the monsters, some scenes of note include Laurie killing herself at the end in order to convince Boone to turn her into a Nightbreed. Reverend Ashbury also have an expanded role, where he is set up as a villain at the end, over Decker. And there's also a different outcome for the Nightbreed, just slightly, which seems more melancholy and depressing than in the theatrical edition. Now, in my opinion, this is the definitive version of Nightbreed, both in terms of quality as well as availability. The reason I bring up availability is that in 2017, a new version of Nightbreed was released called the Cabal Cut that utilized even more footage from the master copy compiled years earlier. Now, I consider the director's cut the definitive version to track down, only because this Cabal Cut was released in very limited quantities, and it is near impossible to track down without spending hundreds of dollars. Due to that, I've never seen this film, but what I can tell you guys is that it's 145 minutes long and utilizes a lot of work print footage. It has an expanded role for Detective Joyce, who I didn't even mention earlier because he was largely pointless to the other versions, as well as Decker's button face mask talking to him and commanding his fragile psyche. The Cabal Cut is basically all the footage shot for the movie and is the closest to the novel Cabal, while the director's cut is Clive Barker's personal favorite version of the movie and the closest to his original intention, or as close as it's ever going to get. Speaking of the novel, I actually read Cabal to get ready for this review, and despite what I've heard of everyone having problems with how the movie kind of strayed from Barker's original vision, I think all versions of the movie are fairly accurate to the novel. Or at least, as accurate as most book-to-film adaptations are. All of the major players are there, and their motivations are largely the same. Some things of note is that Decker's mask does talk to him like in the Cabal Cut. Laurie does kill herself at the end, like in the director's cut. And Reverend Ashbury has a much more expanded role and fleshed out character arc in this novel. Now, sadly, there was a sequel kind of set up that never came to be, but honestly, I don't think it was ever the intention for there to be a sequel to Cabal. Now, as an introduction to Barker's writing, I want to say that it was very entertaining, and you can see why he's a master of the craft. Now, Cabal I found for very cheap online, so you could probably find a copy at a discount bookstore or even on eBay if you want to read it. Beyond the novel and the different editions of the 1990 movie, there was actually some video games and even a lot of comic book adaptations of the source material, as well as even a crossover comic book series with the characters from Hellraiser. A TV series has also been in development on the Sci-Fi Channel for a while, but nothing has come of that of yet. Nightbreed is a very curious movie within the horror genre. It suffered major setbacks from producers who just didn't understand the source material. It came out when the whole horror genre was being taken less and less seriously, and it was marketed in such a poor and confusing way. I'm glad it's had its time to shine and be recognized decades later, because there really is something magical on display here. Clive Barker created a powerhouse of an emotional film with such visual flair and social commentary that I find it very hard to believe that someone wouldn't at least appreciate what the movie is trying to do. Alright, this ends it for our one-shot review. Stay posted in the future for other movies I adore and think deserve a spotlight, like Nightbreed. And if our one fan comments below a suggestion for a movie to review, I'm probably going to go ahead and review it.